Rain hammered against the small apartment windows as Sarah pulled her worn sweater tighter around herself. She had just returned from another long day at work, exhausted but determined, the way she always was. Life hadn't been easy, living paycheck to paycheck, working late nights at the firm while still trying to maintain her dignity and kindness in a world that often felt cold. That evening, she heard a faint knock at the door. At first, she hesitated. It was nearly midnight, and she rarely had visitors. But the knock came again, softer this time, almost pleading. She cautiously opened the door. Standing in the dim hallway was a man in a soaked suit, holding the hand of a little girl no older than 7. The girl's hair was dripping wet, her small backpack clutched tightly to her chest. The man looked exhausted, his eyes carrying both desperation and shame. I'm sorry to bother you," he said quietly, his voice husky from the cold. "My daughter and we lost our place for the night. The hotel nearby was overbooked, and we've been walking for hours in the rain. Could we please just stay here for one night? We'll be gone by morning." Sarah's heart squeezed. Logic told her to be cautious. After all, he was a stranger. But when she looked at the little girl shivering by his side, something inside her melted. She saw the same fear and exhaustion that she had known as a child when her own father had abandoned the family, leaving her mother to struggle alone. "Come in," Sarah said softly. "You both need to get warm." The man's shoulders sagged with relief. He guided his daughter inside, murmuring thank yous under his breath. Sarah quickly fetched blankets, made hot cocoa, and set out the leftover pasta she had planned for the next day. The little girl's eyes lit up when she saw the steaming bowl. "Daddy, she made dinner," she whispered. The man gave a faint smile. "Say thank you, Lily." "Thank you," the girl said, her voice small but sincere. Sarah watched the meat, noticing the way the man tried to give his portion to his daughter, even though he was clearly starving. She pushed another bowl toward him. "Eat. You need it too." That night, Sarah set up her old pull-out couch for them. She watched the father tuck his daughter in, smoothing her hair with a tenderness that made her throat tighten. The little girl quickly drifted off to sleep, but the man stayed awake, staring out the window as though weighed down by invisible burdens. "You don't have to worry," Sarah said gently. "You're safe here." He looked at her then, his eyes filled with gratitude and something else she couldn't quite place. "You didn't have to do this," he murmured. "Most people wouldn't." "Most people forget what it's like to struggle," she replied. For a moment, silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken stories. The next morning, true to his word, the man left early with his daughter. He thanked Sarah again and slipped out before she could ask for his name. She thought she'd never see them again, but fate had other plans. 2 days later, Sarah arrived at her company's office, a mid-sized firm where she worked as a project coordinator. Everyone was buzzing with excitement and nerves. The old CEO had retired suddenly, and today the company was introducing the new one. Sarah hurried into the conference room, juggling her files when she froze. There, standing at the podium in a crisp suit, was the same man she had let into her apartment, the man who had sat on her couch, soaking wet, clutching his daughter's hand. Her heart nearly stopped. "Good morning," he began, his voice steady and confident now. "My name is James Carter, and as of this week, I'll be taking over as CEO of this company. I'm honored to be here and excited for what we'll build together." Sarah felt her hands tremble. She glanced around, but no one else seemed to notice her shock. How could this be? Just 2 nights ago, he was a desperate father with nowhere to stay, and now he was her boss, the man at the very top. As days passed, Sarah tried to keep her distance, unsure if James even remembered her. But one afternoon, as she was leaving late from work, she heard a voice behind her. "Sarah." She turned to see him standing by the elevator, his expression unreadable. "You're the one who helped us, aren't you?" he asked softly, her cheeks burned. Yes, that night. But I didn't know." He held up a hand. "I didn't want you to know. That night I wasn't a CEO. I was just a father, desperate to keep my daughter safe. You didn't judge me. You didn't ask for anything. You simply helped. That meant more than you know." Sarah didn't know what to say. She had expected him to brush it off or pretend it never happened. Instead, he looked at her with genuine respect. "You reminded me of something I'd forgotten," he continued. "That kindness still exists in this world. I owe you more than I can say." As weeks turned into months, Sarah and James began to cross paths more often. He started seeking her input during meetings, valuing her ideas when others overlooked her. He even invited her to join a new project team he was forming, an opportunity that could change her career, but with opportunity came whispers. Some colleagues assumed she had special treatment, others grew jealous. Sarah struggled with the weight of their judgment, fearing that everything she had worked for would be dismissed as favoritism. One night, after another exhausting day of side-eyes and rumors, Sarah considered quitting. She didn't want to be that employee, the one people gossiped about. But when she got home, she found a small drawing slipped under her door. It was from Lily, the little girl. The drawing showed 3 figures holding hands, a man, a woman, and a child, standing under a bright sun. At the bottom, in shaky letters, Lily had written, "Thank you for helping us." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She realized then that kindness didn't need to be explained or justified. It simply was. James, too, faced his own battles. Becoming CEO had come with enormous pressure, board expectations, financial struggles, and the constant need to prove himself. Balancing that with being a single father was almost impossible. He often stayed late at the office, then rushed home to help Lily with homework, cook dinner, and tuck her into bed, only to fall asleep at his desk after midnight. Sarah noticed his exhaustion. One evening, when she found him still at his desk, long after everyone else had gone home, she brought him coffee and said quietly, "You don't have to do everything alone." For a moment, he looked at her as though she had touched a wound he'd kept hidden. "I've had to," he admitted. "Since Lily's mother left, it's just been me. I can't afford to fail her." Sarah sat down across from him. "Maybe not failing doesn't mean doing it all by yourself. Maybe it means letting someone stand beside you." Her words lingered in the quiet office, sinking deep into his heart. Time passed, and slowly their connection grew, not rushed, not forced, but built on trust, late-night conversations, and the shared understanding of struggle and resilience. Sarah became more than just an employee to James. She became someone he could rely on, someone who brought light into the dark corners of his busy life. For Lily, she became a friend, someone who braided her hair and listened to her stories about school. But the journey wasn't smooth. James battled the fear of mixing personal and professional life. Sarah worried about the whispers and judgments of others. There were moments of distance, where both questioned whether it was worth the risk. The turning point came when the company faced a major crisis, a project that threatened to collapse, costing millions and risking countless jobs. Many executives panicked, but Sarah worked tirelessly, pulling all-nighters, finding solutions that no one else saw. James watched her fight for the company, not for recognition, but because she cared. It was then he realized she wasn't just someone who had given him shelter one rainy night. She was someone who carried strength, compassion, and integrity into everything she did. Together, they saved the project. And in the aftermath, James finally said the words he had been holding back. "You were there for me when I had nothing. You were there for this company when it was about to fall apart. Sarah, I don't just admire you. I care about you, and I think Lily already loves you too." Sarah's heart swelled, tears brimming in her eyes. "I care about both of you too," she whispered. In time, Sarah, James, and Lily became inseparable. Not a perfect family, but a real one, built not on wealth or power, but on kindness, resilience, and the courage to let people in. Sarah often thought back to that rainy night. She had opened her door to a stranger, not knowing it would change her life forever. What she learned was simple, yet powerful. One act of kindness can ripple further than you ever imagine, and in the end, it didn't matter that James was the CEO. To Sarah, he would always be the man who sat on her couch holding his daughter close, carrying both desperation and hope in his eyes. Because sometimes, the people we help in their weakest moments become the very ones who change our lives in the strongest ways.